Level 1. Clone Cadet. You open your eyes for the first time inside a growth pod in Camino. Rain hammers the windows. It never stops raining here. You don't have parents. You don't have a birthday. You have a number. That number is your name, your identity, your entire existence. You're one of millions, grown in a tube, aged at double speed, and designed for one purpose: war. Your days start before the lights come on. You run drills in the rain on platforms hundreds of feet above the ocean. The wind is so strong it almost throws you off the edge. You learn to strip a DC-15 blaster before you learn what a birthday is. The Kaminoans walk through with clipboards, inspecting you like livestock. Dispatch is within acceptable parameters. That's the closest thing to a compliment you ever get from them. If a batch shows defects, they call it reconditioning. Nobody tells you what that means. You just notice some cadets disappear and never come back. But you have brothers. 4 guys in your squad, identical in every way, somehow all different. One cracks jokes during drills, another barely speaks. One draws little pictures on the barracks wall when the lights go out. You give each other names because nobody else will. That name is the first thing in your life that actually belongs to you. The final simulation is a full-scale battle scenario. Urban warfare, droid ambush. Your squad moves through a fake city while training droids shoot stun rounds that leave bruises the size of your fist. Your squad leader goes down. You don't freeze. You grab his position. You call the flanking maneuver. You push through. A stamp on a data pad, a transport number. Camino shrinks behind you through the window. You don't feel sad. You feel ready. You were built for what comes next. Level 2. Clone Private. Your boots hit real ground for the first time. Geonosis. The sand is red and the sky is full of laser fire. This isn't a simulation. The smells are real. Burning metal, scorched earth, and something else you can't identify yet. Later, you'll learn that smell is death. You're cannon fodder, lowest rank in the Grand Army of the Republic. Point your blaster where the sergeant tells you and pull the trigger. The battle droids come in waves. You fire until your blaster overheats, swap the power cell with shaking hands, and fire again. A gunship crashes 30 meters to your left. The clone next to you takes a bolt to the chest. Same face as yours. Same voice. He drops, and you keep moving, because forward is the only direction you know. A Jedi general leads the charge. You've never seen anything like it. A glowing sword deflecting blaster bolts, moving faster than your eyes can track. The Jedi doesn't know your name. Out here, nobody does. You're just another white helmet in a sea of white helmets. Close the gap! Move up! The sergeant's voice cuts through the noise. You move. You survive your first battle. A lot of your brothers don't. On the gunship ride back to the cruiser, you stare at the empty seats. The guy who used to crack jokes during drills on Camino isn't here. His armor is still down there in the red sand. Nobody trained you for this part. Nobody taught you what to do when the shooting stops and the silence starts. Level 3. Clone Corporal. 6 campaigns in. Burn marks on your armor and a scar across your jaw from shrapnel on Christophsis. They bump you up to Corporal. Now you're responsible for a fire team. 4 men. 4 lives that depend on your calls. It changes everything. Before, you just followed orders. Now you have to give them. During a firefight on Ryloth, you tell a private to push left through a bombed-out building. A sniper bolt goes through his visor. He's gone before he hits the ground. You made that call. You sent him there. That weight doesn't leave. It sits in your chest like a stone, and it gets heavier with every battle. You start painting your armor, a small tally mark on your left vambrace for every brother you lose. By the end of your first year as corporal, you've run out of room on one arm. You start marking the other. New shinies arrive from Camino, clean armor, wide eyes behind their visors. They remind you of yourself 8 months ago. That's all it took to become a veteran. You check their gear. Make sure their power cells are charged. Stay close, do what I do. One of them nods. He's shaking so hard his armor rattles. "What's your name?" he asks. He means your real name, not your number. That question meant nothing to you once. Now it means everything. Level 4. Clone Sergeant. Cover is Durasteel. Concealment is a bush. One stops a bolt, the other just hides you. You're standing in front of 9 shinies with unmarked plates and no stories. You teach them everything the Mandalorian trainers taught you on Kamino, plus everything the battlefield taught you that Kamino never could. How to listen for the hum of a droideka before it rolls around a corner. How B-1s march in predictable patterns, but tactician droids don't. Now you run the squad. 9 men who look to you before they look at anyone else. Officers plan the war. Sergeants fight it. During an ambush on Seleucamine, one of the shinies freezes. Blaster bolts are shredding the jungle and he's just standing there, locked up, staring at nothing. You grab him by the chest plate and drag him into cover. You move when I tell you to move. He nods. Can't even speak. You were him once. That feels like a lifetime ago. At night, you sit in the barracks cleaning your weapon. The barracks are quieter now than they used to be. You know every man in your squad by name, by habit, by the sound of their breathing when they sleep. You know which ones will make it, and which ones probably won't. You keep that to yourself. A private asks you a question nobody's ever asked before. "Sarge, what do you think happens after the war?" You don't have an answer. You weren't programmed with one. You just say, "We win. That's what happens." But you don't believe it. Not because you think you'll lose, because you're starting to wonder if winning even changes anything for clones like you. Level 5. Clone Lieutenant. Blue markings on your armor now. You carry a DC-17 hand blaster instead of the standard rifle. For the first time, you're standing in a briefing room pointing at holographic maps next to a Jedi commander. You plan assaults, coordinate air support, and decide which squad hits the front gate and which one flanks from the east. The Jedi turns to you mid-briefing. "What do you think, Lieutenant?" It catches you off guard. You were designed to execute orders, not have opinions. But you've seen more combat than most Jedi have. Your suggestions start saving lives. The general still calls you by your rank, not your name. That's fine. At least they're asking. You lose an entire platoon on Felucia. Bad intel. The Separatists had 3 times the forces the report estimated. You walked your men into a fortified position that wasn't supposed to exist. You called for extraction, and it came 20 minutes too late. 40 brothers, gone. The Jedi General tells you it wasn't your fault. The Force works in ways you can't understand. You nod. You say, "Yes, General." But inside, you're screaming. The Force didn't stop a single bolt. The Force didn't bring back a single brother. Then you watch a Jedi Knight order a charge across an open field because he feels the Force guiding him. 16 brothers cross that field. None of them make it to the other side. You bite your tongue so hard it bleeds. That night you realize something. The Jedi are monks leading armies, peacekeepers fighting a war. Some are brilliant. Others get your men killed with the wave of a hand and a feeling in their gut. You can't say that out loud, so you learn to read them. Which ones listen, which ones think they already know everything. And you keep your men as far from the second type as you can. Level 6. Clone Captain. They give you a company. 144 men. Your armor tells the story now. Scarred, cracked, painted with your company's colors. Every clone in your unit knows you by sight, and you lead from the front because you won't ask a brother to go somewhere you wouldn't go yourself. You work directly alongside a Jedi General. The General calls you by your name, not your number, not your rank. Your name. That means something. It shouldn't, but it does. You know the General takes their calf. You know the face they make when they sense something through the Force. You've saved each other's lives more times than you can count. This is more than a chain of command now. Late at night, between battles, you talk. Not about war, about what peace might look like. About what a clone might do if there was no war to fight. The General looks at you. You deserve a life of your own. Nobody has ever said that to you before. You've started wondering about things a clone isn't supposed to wonder about. What happens when the war ends? Will they put you back in a pod? Or will you get to choose something for the first time? Those thoughts are dangerous. You push them down. There's another battle tomorrow. Level 7. Clone General. They pull you off the front line. You're in a command center on a Venator-class Star Destroyer, surrounded by screens. Blue dots are your men. Red dots are the enemy. You move battalions like pieces on a board. Every decision ripples across the battlefield. A delayed order means men die waiting for backup that's already too late. You sit in briefings with the Republic admirals and Jedi Council members. They project charts on the wall. Attrition rates, acceptable losses. You want to ask which specific men are acceptable to lose. You don't. You push back when you can. You argue for better equipment, more air support, longer rest rotations. Sometimes they listen. Mostly they don't. A Republic Navy admiral refers to you as the clone. Not by name, not by rank, just the clone. You say nothing. You execute the battle plan flawlessly and save 2,000 men. That's your answer. The battlefield makes sense. Up here, everything is politics and projections. Down there, you knew who the enemy was. Then, the headaches start. Strange ones. A faint ringing in your ears and pressure behind your eyes. Sometimes you lose a second or two. A gap in your memory you can't explain. You report to the medical bay. The droid runs a scan. All readings within normal parameters? You're not sure. Something is off. Something buried deep. You shake it off and go back to the screens. The war doesn't wait for headaches. Level 8. Clone Commander. Custom armor. Your own call sign. Now you lead a regiment of 2,304 men, and when troopers hear your voice on the comm channel, they fight harder. That's not ego. That's responsibility. You've served with your Jedi General for years. You finish each other's sentences in briefings. You know when to push them toward a hard decision, and when to shut up and execute. It's not just a chain of command anymore. It's something deeper. Something no one programmed you into. But the headaches are worse. The gaps in your thoughts come more often. Sometimes mid-conversation you lose your train of thought completely. For half a second, it's like someone else is sitting behind your eyes. Then it passes and you're yourself again. You don't tell anyone. You're on a ridge overlooking a valley. The general is beside you, studying the terrain. After this campaign, the general says quietly, I'm going to recommend you for an advisory position on Coruscant. Somewhere you can actually rest. You don't know what to say. A future. An actual future. For a clone. Then a transmission comes through on a secure channel. Not from your general. Not from the admiral. From the Supreme Chancellor himself. 3 words. Execute Order 66. Something clicks inside your head, like a switch being flipped in a room you didn't know existed. An inhibitor chip, buried deep in your brain, activates, and everything you've felt for the last 3 years gets pushed behind a wall. The friendship, the trust, the late-night conversations about peace, the voice that said you deserve a life of your own, all of it goes quiet. A cold focus replaces everything you are. You raise your blaster. The general turns around, confusion on their face. Then understanding. Then nothing. You report the mission complete. You don't feel anything. That's the worst part. Somewhere deep beneath the programming, beneath the chip, a part of you is screaming. But you can't hear it. Level 9. Clone Marshal Commander. You stood at the top, the highest rank a clone could hold. You commanded entire armies across multiple systems. You sat in war councils with Jedi Masters and Republic Senators. You shaped the strategy that won entire campaigns. For a manufactured soldier, you got as close to power as any clone ever would. And when Order 66 came, you didn't just follow it. You coordinated it. Across the galaxy, your subordinate commanders followed your lead. Thousands of Jedi fell in a single afternoon. The Republic you fought to protect died that day too. The chip made sure of it. Some commanders felt nothing. Some felt everything, but couldn't stop their hands from moving. You'll never know which one you were. Now the Republic is the Empire. The army you built is being phased out, replaced by recruits who didn't grow up in the rain in Camino, who don't share your face. They call them stormtroopers. They wear the armor, but they're not brothers. The Empire doesn't want clones anymore. Too expensive, too independent, too connected to each other. Your brothers are aging out. The accelerated growth that made you battle-ready at 10 is killing you at 40. Decommissioned, discarded. Some wander the outer rim looking for mercenary work. Some drink themselves quiet in cantinas on planets nobody remembers. The chip is wearing off, and in the silence, things are coming back. Fragments at first. A voice in a briefing room, blue dots on a screen. Then sharper, a ridge overlooking a valley. A face turning to you. You deserve a life of your own. The question a private asked you in a barracks a lifetime ago. What happens after the war? Now you know. Nothing happens. The war ends, and you sit in a room and you rot. You were built for war. You did everything they asked, every mission, every battle, every sacrifice. And this is your reward. A fading body, a quiet room, and the ghost of someone you were never allowed to be. You pick up the helmet. You look at the face in the reflection. Millions of men wore that face, fought with it, died with it. A bounty hunter's face. A man you never met who sold his DNA and walked away while you and your brothers bled across the stars for a republic that was rotten from the inside. You set the helmet down. You walk outside. The sun is warm. There are no orders coming through the comm. No briefing in an hour. No red dots on a screen. A woman at a market stall looks at you. You got a name? You almost say your number. Old habit. Instead, you say the name your brothers gave you. Back on Camino. Back when it was the first thing that ever belonged to you. For the first time in your life, the day is yours, and you have no idea what to do with it. Watch this video next.